Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. We have got an Ashes of Creation special today. We're going to be doing a video all about the node system. If you've not already seen it, I have got videos already up on Ashes about just like a general one about the game, and then I've got one a bit more specific about the 64 class options you've got in this game. We're going to have a video with Phixion and TheSaffronMan today. Phixion, introduce yourself, man.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on. I'm Phixion. You find me on YouTube and Twitch, /Phixion and Phixion9 on Twitch. Raid Shadow Legends player. I've got 20 years experience playing MMOs, and yeah, massively hyped to see what happens in Ashes.
Nice. And TheSaffronMan?
How you doing, man? Yeah, thanks for having me on. So yeah, like Phixion, I'm on Twitch and on YouTube. I host the Shadow Legends Assemble Raid podcast. And yeah, so I haven't played any MMOs, so I've never really been in a position in my life to be able to commit to something, right? But things have been going well, and I've been looking for this something new, and it looks like we found it.
Yeah, so it feels like there's a lot of the content creators, and all of us actually play Raid Shadow Legends. So if you come to this channel from somewhere else, that's our link at the moment. But certainly it feels like the Raid Shadow Legends community love an MMO, and you know there's a lot of similarities between Raid and what happens in MMO style games. So what we want to do is just kind of talk you through a bit more of a deep dive into what the nodes are going to be and why Ashes of Creation kind of see this as their real unique point to their MMO, you know, compared to other ones that are out there on the market. I mean, firstly, I'm just going to dive into the biggest thing for me, which is it feels like the nodes are going to completely develop the world. So rather than the world, you react to the world that's there, as you build up a different node, actually that changes the world and your surroundings. And it also changes things like quest lines, world bosses, anything along those lines. I guess, Phixion, you said you've had 20 years experience. Have you ever come across anything along those lines?
Never like this. So from my experience, MMOs tend to have a very static environment where you'll progress through levels. As your character gets higher level, you won't go back and revisit those previous areas. Whereas one of the coolest things that I think in Ashes is the area around you actually develops, and an area that you may have been hunting in when you started the game, you know, later on down the line, you will actually be going back there because that area is developed. And you know, there may be new dungeons opened up there. There may be new raid bosses or things like that have now become available because the entire area is developed as you've grown as a player as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know, Saf, you're big into community, and it definitely feels like this game, more so than any other game I've played, is trying to pitch itself as the community game. You know, you have to have a community building up your node, because ultimately, if you're not progressing yourself quick enough, then you're going to end up being left behind from like surrounding villages and stuff.
Yeah, sure. We just go back a second though. I mean, so this was the first time that I knew about this game was when they posted these node videos 3 years ago, right?
Sure.
And like these videos that we're watching here now, when you're like trying to step into the MMO scene and you're wanting to kind of be different, I mean, just having the idea of nodes and then visually representing the idea of nodes like this to the huge success that everyone's kind of taken to it.
Yeah.
These 3 videos sparked the flame that is the imagination of this game at the moment, because it's so different and because people were on board with that idea. And the more we hear about these nodes, the more unique it is. This is going to be the difference between most MMOs out there, as well as obviously a whole bunch of other things that are in this game. But the grand scope of this game is down to the nodes and how diverse it could be. So yeah, I'm definitely a community man. I was thinking to myself when we was watching the interviews and stuff, I could literally possibly like just spend my whole time in a node and not slay enemies, or I could just run a community, right? From traders to cooks to builders and to so I could just spend that whole time in the community, and that is unique.
Yeah,
I don't know anything like that.
I used to play a game called Star Wars Galaxies, and we're probably going back 20 years, maybe 18, 20 years, something like that. And that game actually did have this type of option that you could not do PvP you could literally sit in your village as a group, as a community, and your role might be the weapon master. And actually, people within your community go out and farm dungeons and fight bosses to bring you schematics, and other people will go out and farm the best resources that they can, and then you still charge a fee to build them this crazy weapon. Like I love that about it. So like Star Wars Galaxies is one of my favorite pastimes as a game, and certainly as an MMO. And it feels like they've taken bits of that. They've taken bits of some other games out there like
BDO,
BDO, Lineage 2, and they've tried to pull like the best parts of that together. Okay, so I think one of the things for me which is very cool, and I mentioned it earlier on, it's like you create your own world, and if you were to have two champs, you've got a champion that's on one server, you've got a champion on another server, those two servers should look completely different depending on how each of those nodes has developed. And it might be as a group, you decide to travel across the world and set up a node many miles away, or you might decide, I'm just going to spawn here and we're just going to go as fast and hard as we can to develop this node and get ourselves one of the first people to get one of these kind of big metropolises. But for me, that's just a pretty cool kind of setup, pretty cool option for the community to really drive their own world and their own kind of view. And actually, what you'd hope is there'll be a story behind different worlds where it's kind of like, look at what we've unlocked. Look at this Easter egg that we've unlocked that perhaps nobody else has seen yet. Which again is something which I'm very keen on. So what's really cool about the game is basically you've got 4 different types of nodes. So you've got an economic, a militaristic, a scientific, and a divine. And that should be pretty obvious when you first level up to level 1. It won't be obvious when you join a camp, but once you hit level 1 on a node, just by the NPCs that are there, the type of buildings that erect, even at level 1, you'll know what type of camp it is, what type of node it is. And each node will be extremely different, because if you go for something like a militaristic, then I mean it kind of says it itself really, but you're going to be a pretty PvP heavy community versus an economic where it might be something like you were saying, Saffron, where you might be much more into artisan crafting, developing trade links, that type of thing. I mean, firstly, any preferences for you guys? Anything which kind of stands out as an early preference?
I mean, personally, probably militaristic, just because it sounds like fun, to be honest. But at the same time, all of them, I think, will have their own benefits. From what I've seen, I'm sure you go into this in a minute, but at the very low stages, obviously, they are just basically a camp.
Yeah.
But each of these areas, as they grow to the different levels, they unlock different things, which I think are actually going to be very cool, because not only will you have to sort of specialize in one, but I feel like you're going to require other people to have built other nodes for you to actually succeed in the game. So like the economic nodes, they'll be effectively operating as like a global marketplace, like an auction house for people to go and sell and trade goods. Don't really know too much
just on that point. So I was reading about that yesterday, and it seems like economic nodes will have an open auction house between other economic nodes.
Yeah,
but they won't be open to like a divine node or a militaristic node. So you won't have that same auction house ability. You actually would have to travel to a different node, a local trading environment, to be able to get what you want. So, like you say, I mean, that's they call it their superpower, which is a bit of a weird word, I think. But
yeah, it's a bit of a strange way of describing it.
Yeah, but certainly feels like quite a big perk for those that want to trade.
The scientific
global banking, right? Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, and just the scientific ones, I think their superpower is quick travel between scientific nodes.
Yeah.
And based on the size of the environment that you're going to be in and the lack of flying mounts and things like that. I know there are flying mounts in the game, but I think they're going to be pretty tough to even acquire, or Definitely. Extremely rare. Having the ability to jump between nodes and stuff, it gives you a really cool dynamic with people relying on different types of nodes and not just specializing in one.
Yeah. What about Saf? Have you got any kind of sort of standout views at the moment on this?
Yeah, for sure. So most of my chat want me to go down the divine notion.
Start a cult.
I could see you at the head of a cult. I could see that.
So yeah, they want me to go down that route, but I don't know if I want to spend 10 years of my life as a priest or something. So
yeah,
I don't know. So I think they've all got perks. One of the things that strike me for the economic mode is that global trading link. I think that's a really cool idea. I mean, I've played Path of Exile before, and their trading system is fantastic. You could literally spend the whole season on the marketplace after you've done certain things, and that intrigues me as well. To just just get those numbers up on your stockpile, right, and just count your monies. Like, I'm down for that. The military nodes, battle royale, mate. Can you add a battle royale into this game? It's an amazing idea. So whoever wins that battle royale becomes the king or whatever of that military node. I love that idea. PvP is going to love that. So people are going to go to that just for the battle royale. Scientific node, art design and construction. Like I mentioned before, some people really want to start cooking early. I mean, people like getting on the ground floor of something. This is definitely the ground floor of something. If you can spend your early months or whatever learning your craft, mastering your craft, and you're playing the long game in this, you're going to be here for a long time. And mate, you get those crafts in early and you're going to be sorted, right? People are going to be coming to you from far and wide for the items that you create. And I love that. So yeah, everything kind of has its own draws to it. And I feel kind of disappointed I have to just pick one, actually.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, I guess that's the benefit. Oh, well, that's a real positive, that already it feels like you're being drawn in more than one direction. Like, otherwise, there'll be a real imbalance in the game. And being there only be 4 different types, you want for each of the types to have a chance to prosper and be worthwhile. Because even when I was looking through the scientific nodes, so they get kind of like highlighted where are the good resources in the area, what will you find in certain dungeons, things like armor recipes, weapon recipes, glyph recipes. So even though they're not a militaristic node, they've actually got a lot of resource towards building strong fighting capabilities, So I like the way they've only kind of detailed, from what I've seen so far, scientific and economic in like real detail. But both of them looked really attractive. They both look really fun.
One thing that I saw about the militaristic, which is actually probably another reason why I would personally edge towards it, is I think the special ability is bounty hunters.
Right.
So when people are and this isn't actually even from a PvP perspective for me. I hate people griefing in games and ganking people lower level than them. So in this game, the way that they're going to combat that is that if you start killing people who are lower level than you when they're just out in the wild doing their thing, you're going to get a bounty on your head. Right. And people from the militaristic node are going to come and start hunting you because they're going to get rewards for doing it. And I just think that's a really cool way to combat, an anti-griefing system. It still keeps it fair for people who are leveling up, and stops, I guess, so much incentive for massively higher level players coming and killing people who are fresh to the game for no reason.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, so I was looking through in terms of like the status of a node. So basically, it goes from like a camp up to a village, a town, a city, and then a metropolis. And one of the things that's quite interesting is there's only a capability of having 5 metropolises per server. So
castle nodes, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So ultimately, if you want to build up your node beyond a city, and there's already 5 metropolises out there, you've actually got to go and siege and destroy one of the others. So, and that might be you having to pull together with your node, but also your vassal nodes that are coming in and basically supporting you for that raid or for that piece.
You get the boys together.
Yeah,
and you go hunting.
Yeah, and it's quite cool. It's quite a cool sort of system.
It's a bit more than that, though, right? Let's say you join in 3 months after everyone else. Let's say your brother's been playing it and you finally got around to log it on or whatever. 3 months in, you've got Metropolis is set up. You can't just go like, okay, I'm going to take down that Metropolis. It's literally going to be your origin story. You're going to have to start behind everyone else. You're going to have to gather your friends, your forces. You're going to have to make alliances and friendships. And actually, it's going to take you time to go up that ladder of life, right?
Yeah.
And it might be be 6 months from now or whatever that you might get in a position to actually try and siege someone.
Definitely. It's not like a one-day thing, for sure. No. Even to be able to do it, you have to get a quest line completed, which gives you the ability to start a siege. And the siege will not start for a number of days. So let's say you're trying to take down a metropolis, which is like a level 6 city. They get 6 days, 6 days preparation, and you get 6 days to make sure you're in order before it even goes on. So they're going to be ready for you. That's the thing, right? They're going to be set up, ready to take you on.
I think it's a fixed time as well, isn't it? So that everyone can plan around. They know that on this day that's going to happen.
Yeah.
To be clear, I'm sure you can take part in raids day one, but if you're wanting to be the one giving those orders, then it's going to take a little bit of time. But one thing that this game is driving in terms of the difference of the nodes and so is driving social communication, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to be in communication with the economic nodes, the military node. We're going to be in communication with all of those because they all offer us all perks, right? So those friendships and alliances actually mean something. Right, so you might have a conversation with some of the economic nodes. You might strike a deal or a barter or whatever. Awesome. Someone might come try and undercut them, like with a different deal, and they're like, "Hang on, now I've just dealt with the Saffron Man. He's a really cool guy. He's got a really good thing going on. Am I really going to ruin that trust on this deal to save a few gold?" And that's the kind of communicate. Oh, it's so in depth. I love it.
Somebody else jumps in and says, "Well, that guy's actually leading a cult. Maybe you should come with us."
God damn it!
Yeah. And there's also there's no like auto find party. There's no like I need to fill up a squad of 40 people. I'm going to sit in this kind of queue builder, and then I'm there with 39 random other people. That's not going to be in this game. It is you communicating with people and saying, guys, this is the time we're going to do this. We need to get together. Like old school, talking to people. All right, not face to face,
but it's how it should be. Honestly,
I love it.
Games like World of Warcraft now. I've said it so many times. If you're a high-end PvE player in World of Warcraft, even PvP as well, the actual world and environment is effectively a glorified lobby where you're just waiting to queue into different things.
Sure.
You don't leave the town. You don't leave like the main city hub unless you have to, maybe once a day to go out to do a quest or something like that. But essentially, there's very little for you to do in the actual world. You don't experience it. You're just sat in queues waiting for a queue timer to pop.
Yeah.
And you hit accept and you get teleported to the dungeon.
Sure.
There's none of that real world experience. And I miss that from early World of Warcraft. Back in classic or vanilla when that was around, you met people when you were stood outside a dungeon waiting for somebody your level to rock up,
definitely,
and party up with you. And that was how we made lasting friendships, which you would then maybe even guild up with those people, and you'd play with them for years just through that process of bumping into them at a dungeon.
No, for sure. I mean, and it's been pretty clear. I've watched a few interviews on this, and it's really clear that, you'll have surrounding node quests, and that's actually how you build your nodes up. So things like quest lines, crafting, fighting, missions, all that type of stuff is how you build your node. But there will be the need to go out into the world and experience things. And one of the things I saw yesterday, which is the first time I've heard it, was there's going to be a need or a benefit to genuine like exploration. So there are going to be almost like Easter eggs or things you can find through exploring the world. I was listening to an interview, and it's basically Stephen and some of his team were basically saying that, we hope that in 6 months people are still finding something for the first time, because it's not like an obvious thing to go for. And I love the idea of that. I love, just like absolutely like properly exploring something.
And I wonder if some of those things won't appear until nodes are developed to a certain level and things like that.
Well, that's like enemies. They've got some monsters will only turn up once you reach level 4 node or something, right? Out of world environments and stuff. But if I am leader of a cult Hades. if I can I not just get others to explore for me while I'm looking after the node? Right?
Well, maybe you can. Yeah, just make sure they bring back the goodies. You know what happens? Quite often we find these cult leaders dead, and then someone else has taken their place.
So it's either quest reward or their life. So
suddenly they're leading an economic faction because they've got that much money.
Yeah,
they're off to lead that node over there. So.
But we're getting combinations of nodes as well, right? So they kind of overlap each other, kind of thing. So we might have several nodes within, and like the community is going to be massive, mate. And it's going to be good.
Well, I think so. From what I understand, the biggest node in a certain area or environment will be like the leader of that community, and then they'll have vassal kind of nodes that are coming into them. So they might have 3 or 4 lower level, even if they're 1 level lower, they would still be a vassal for them. So all of a sudden you're kind of building up a community of different nodes, one on top of the other, layering them up. And those may well be like, some of them are divine, some of them, all the different types basically you can pull in together as a community. And it seems like as well, community trumps guild, which is quite interesting. So if you've got a guild member that's in your neighboring node, let's say, and that's a divine node, and all of a sudden those 2 nodes go to war, you fight your guild member because community trumps guild, which is interesting, actually. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how I feel about it even, but it's an interesting dynamic.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah. So the idea is, from what they're saying, is that, their biggest focus is the community. So but then for me, generally, my community and guild would probably be the same thing. I would think most of a community or guild would grow together in the same node. But it might be that you've got, Phixion, you're really up for a militaristic node, and I might be saying, well, hold on a minute, I want to be in an economic node. So although we might be in the same guild, neighboring each other, you might be kind of trying to fight your way as the leader of that node, and I'm doing it in a different way. So I can kind of see
your way
it.
to the top.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it feels like more my style. I don't know.
Your guild members wouldn't be paying tax, though, right?
I don't know.
Your community would be paying tax, whatever you set it to, I'm guessing. Or is that just the economic mode? I think that's for all nodes. There's a tax.
I think if you're leader, you set the taxes and things like that.
But I don't think your guild members would be paying tax, or would they? I don't know.
I think they probably would. I think they would anyway, because it'll be your whole community that pays that tax.
And is it 250 a guild, you said?
I've heard 300 banding around, but I don't know if that's kind of settled yet. But yeah, they're big. Big numbers. Yeah, that is big numbers.
It's big numbers to manage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Phixion with WoW. And could you imagine 250 v 250 in WoW?
What, in like PvP battles?
Yeah, because I've seen some content creators.
Take it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some content. That's the idea. That's another thing about this game. The ideas are so stupendous that other people and other content creators are like, "Wow, that's amazing," but they're kind of in disbelief because they're like, "How can this be possible? We've known this for like 10 years or 20 years or whatever."
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the games that we sort of base as the top MMOs right now are built on a framework which is 15 years old. And it's not taking into account, the power, the rendering distances and things of stuff that they can do now to optimize these sorts of battles.
It's a massive job.
But I mean, I've heard that actually their end game goal could be up to 500 v 500, which would be
really,
which would be absolutely insane. But at the same time, just think back to if you, I know Saf, you haven't really played MMOs, but Hades, if you think back to the early days of MMOs, you're going to be building stories inside these games that you're going to remember for years to come. I can remember stories today from raids that I did maybe 10 years ago where something ridiculous happened. We pulled out a win out of nowhere or something like that, and it's going to stick with people, and I hope if they can do it right, they could be building the next big MMO. I mean, and they're doing all the right things.
Just what you talked about there, like probably one of the infamous one is Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, absolutely, it's timeless.
Yeah, and even to the point where like Leroy Jenkins it becomes characters in other games. It's like it's totally infamous now. But yeah, that's just come from like an idiot that ran into a room in World of Warcraft and did it all wrong, but while he was shouting about. Yeah. But very funny. No, definitely, man, definitely. That's cool. I mean, one of the things for me is, or which I genuinely kind of am excited by, is the way housing is going to work in these nodes as well.
The real estate,
yeah. So like, and there's two different types of it from what I see. So you can right? Is it three types? Is it? So I'm aware of, you can own a property within a node, and that property will grow as the node grows. So if you level from a camp to a village, and you're one of the early people that have got a property, then your property grows, and if you then attract more people into that village and they put down a residence, their residence will be slightly smaller than yours. And then as you grow to the next level again, each of the properties grow, but in their own kind of phase. So if you're one of the early ones, you could end up with a mansion. Whereas if you join that node late, then chances are you're in the shanty towns at the edge of town.
Cardboard box on the side of the road.
So that's like the first one, but that's pretty cool. So there's a genuine reason to try and get to a node early, be one of the founders, and you can actually sell those properties as well. So the game moves on, but there's also freeholds outside of town, which you can use to put down something like a tavern or a crafting station or something along those lines. What else did you hear about, Saf? Is there something I missed there?
You've got those static housing, which is what you mentioned within the nodes, right?
Yeah.
Which don't change the location. They grow as the node grows. You then got apartments, which are within those as well, which you can turn into forgeries and this, that, and the other. And then you got freeholds on the outside of the nodes, right? So those freeholds are basically lands that you can acquire for a price. And I think you can only have one of those per character. Or per account, I think is what it said. So they're the three types of buildings that you can acquire, and you can literally be a landlord, hire them out or sell them, and then go to a different node or different area of the map, and you can have a sequence of buildings there that you're going to collect for, and so just jobs within jobs. I love it. But lots of different types of housing, and I like the idea of the freeholds being outside of the nodes, right? So it's not just it gives an importance to being inside the node. Like that's that offer of protection and a community and economy of a wall, like king and his castle. Right?
Yeah.
And you want to be as close to the king as you can. You don't want to be outside because anything could happen. And so outside is the wild. Anyone can just stroll up to your house. I love that. I think it's a really good thing, and it gives that kind of VIP feel to your community. And
and it also gives like difficult decisions. If some wealthy guy turns up from halfway across the world that has been in an economic node and saving up his cash, and he turns up and you've got one of the mansions and you're quite proud of that. And he turns up and he drops down the dollar, and you're like, man, that's a good offer. That's a strong offer. Do you give up this kind of property that you've been working hard on to be quite high in the hierarchy within that node, or do you and take the money, or do you just say, no, I'm not interested, buddy? Quite. I guess some almost like real life decisions that you've actually got to make, which affect your status and and finances within the game. It's quite fun.
I love the idea that you can obviously fully customize your buildings as well, right? I think that's going to be a big thing for many people. I mean, you see all these house flipper games and all that kind of stuff, and I think people are really going to enjoy decorating different buildings and making them look unique, whether it be for sale or for practical use, right? And it's just another level of density to this game. There's just so much going on. If you want to be a landlord, you can. If you want to be a decorator and just flog them, you can. Do you know what I mean? There's just so much you can do. It's great.
Yeah. So
I think that's it. You're effectively creating your own story, and based on the decisions that you make, that's where the nodes are developing and things like that as well. But as you say, things like player housing, the fact that you don't even need to go out and kill anyone. You don't need to play it as an aggressive game. You can be a trader or something like that, and you're still going to progress through the game in your own way. Is a really cool route to take.
Yeah. And even if you get sieged and your whole node gets destroyed, which is possible, by the way, if you're a metropolis and you get sieged on, they can take your Metropolis down to a level 0. That node can just be wiped off the planet to allow someone else to become the next Metropolis. You still get. I think the way they're looking at this so far is that the house that you built up and kind of spent your time on will basically get sent back to you in a mail system. So you'll get your property back to put somewhere else. I think all you'll lose is like some of the goods in your storage and that type of thing. So there will be a cost to you to not defend your city, your property, or not to sort of team up with the people that actually own the node. But yeah, you won't lose everything you've kind of worked the last 4 years to gain.
Let's say we have Metropolis, right? Let's say Lord Hades has his Metropolis, okay? Let's say you survive the first siege. Awesome. Your community loves you, right? All praise Hades. You lose the second one. Like, oh, that guy Hades. I'm going to go to that guy.
Yeah.
You're going to lose quite a lot more than your community might lose faith in you, right? So running and managing a metropolis where people actually respect your decisions and actually want you to do well, that is intriguing as well, right? Because we're all about building community. That could be pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I could literally create a cult, sit on my throne and just listen to everyone all day and just make sure everyone's happy, right? I could play another game on a different screen as long as I'm talking to those people on the throne. I'll be all right. But yeah, mate, I mean, people will leave you if you lose, Yeah. And like those sieges, they'll follow someone who's stronger. And I love that. It's very Game of Thrones-esque. And
definitely,
if you're not good enough, you won't last long enough. So I'm looking forward to that challenge of managing everything, honestly.
And I'm curious, actually, like how possible is it to take, or how defensible are these different areas? So are they trying to build it in a way that the nodes should be taken down? It's almost like they want, or is it literally going to be strength of arms, strength of numbers, coordination? That's what keeps you afloat. I hope the latter, actually. I hope it's going to be more about if you plan a strong defense and you've got the right community behind you to enforce it, then you keep your status.
I think there'll definitely be an iron gate, right? Like in Lord of the Rings, there's that little iron gate in the bottom of the wall, right? I think you might have all those siege things happening and turn up, but I think there's going to be sneaky ways. Like you could have spies in there,
infiltration.
I think there's definitely going to be ways where people can take down these nodes. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it could be very, very long-winded battles, but it might take the actions of a person. Whether it be inside the node or outside the node, a single person might sway the battle either way, and I think that's what people are really excited about as well.
I feel like the answer to that question will be determined on the player base, because I feel like initially you'll probably have quite a lot of combat and stuff going on, but as the server establishes itself and things go deeper into the game, and metropolises start to arise, because I mean they could take weeks if not months to actually establish. By the time they're established, I imagine like top guilds and things like that will start to appear on the server. The metropolises will start attracting the top players.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure there will be feuds between different guilds and things like that. But historically, from my perspective, there will probably only be maybe 3 dominant guilds in a server who have the ability to fight each other, and it will just be a case of who they can then pull to alliance with them to take other people down for different reasons and stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be really cool, and it'll again, much with everything else, it's going to be determined based on how the players want it to happen, and I think it'll play out that way.
You got the other thing as well, like when a metropolis falls, you're then in a race. Like if you're the next tier of city down, if you're a city waiting to become a metropolis, you can't bank XP, you can't bank the status. Everyone's starting at that even footing, and it's like, guys, we've got to be super active for the next however long it takes to build a metropolis, and that will be all your crafters, that will be your questers. Every type of role will have to be absolutely on it to make sure that you become the metropolis you want to be. Otherwise, you'll just lose out to someone else that's hungrier for it. So, again, quite a cool dynamic in terms of the next steps. Once that big city falls, you've got to have literally like ears to the ground, know that's going on if you're not involved in it, and be ready to set yourself up to
spies.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I
Have
kind
they
of like the
cured
dynamic
sleep
of it.
yet? No?
Sorry?
Have they cured sleep yet?
Well, I'm researching it at the moment.
I'm working on it. I'm down to 1 hour a night.
Oh, geez. That's going to be nuts, mate. Yeah, I think sleep is going to cause havoc to many people's lives. But I'm really interested. The one thing I'm not looking forward to is oh, Saf, this guild did this to me kind of thing. Like it's the pettiness, right? We're going to have the big picture and we're going to have 1,000 people. Oh, this person slighted me. And I'm like, oh, God, that's not what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, don't speak to someone else.
Go to Hades. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good. I'll send them your way, mate. Perfect. Got it.
Yeah. Well, look, I think I pretty much covered off, guys, the main things that I wanted to for this video. It feels to me like it's massive. There's a whole bunch of stuff around nodes which we're still to find out, which is still being developed. But I do like the way each of the different types is unique. You could walk into 10 different scientific nodes and everyone will feel differently, look differently because of the type of random generation they're building into it. Any final words from you, Phixion, on the game?
I honestly just think, what they're talking about is all the right things. They're creating a game which is structured like an MMO, but still free like a sandbox game where you're creating your own stories. And I think that's what MMOs need these days. And it's this game, if they do it right, will be a testament to, what MMOs used to be and prove that the genre is not dead. It's just kind of lost its way. And hopefully Ashes are going to find it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes over the next few months.
Yeah, nice. Any parting comments from you, Saf?
So just want to kind of let everyone know how vast this game is, really. Like, we're talking about nodes here today. There are also underrealm nodes, coastal and island nodes, underwater nodes. We're going to be learning about taxes and communities, characters and monsters and enemies are going to be changing as our node grows. I cannot wait to see the day someone sieges another node and a world event happens at the same time.
Yeah,
and they're
cool,
what do I do? So it's just going to cause confusion and panic. And I can't wait to be in the middle of that or on my throne just pointing and laughing. This is so much going on, man. We could literally talk for like hours and hours and hours just on nodes itself. And I can't wait for Alpha 2. Honestly.
Yeah, well, I know a few of us have already got the Alpha 2 kind of packs bought up, ready to go. Personally, I cannot wait for it as well. I'm still trying to find if I can get away into Alpha 1. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. But, I mean, certainly, guys, look, if there's any other particular topics that we talked about today you'd like a deep dive on, let us know in a comment below. Phixion, Saffron, thank you for joining me on this video today, guys.